Welcome into another episode of the PATS Podcast. I'm your host, Beej.com, Beethoven, whatever you want to call me. Hey, sorry for the delay. Thank you all for all your patience. I know it's been a long time since I recorded. I got really busy, work, life, all that stuff. I didn't really have the time to sit down and dedicate to recording an episode as much as I wanted to. So that's why it's taking me so long to put out another one. But we here, man. Episode 10, man. Huge milestone for me. I never thought that I would be sitting here doing something like this. So to be 10 episodes in, a little sense of pride that I chose to hop out there and do it. And that I was consistent enough to get to 10 episodes, in about 6 months. So I'm proud of that. Plan to be a lot more consistent, especially with OTAs coming up and mini camp, training camp, and definitely throughout the season, you're 100% going to get weekly episodes. So thank y'all for being patient. Thank y'all for rocking with me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share it with your mom, dad, brothers, sister, uncles, cousins, your kids, teachers. Share it with everybody, man. I'm trying to get up to 100 subscribers still. We didn't make our goal of 100 subscribers by the draft, but hey, things happen. So let's take episode 10 and bump our subscribers up to 100 with this episode. So do that for me. Share it with everybody. Let's get up to 100. I appreciate y'all, man. Let's jump right into it. The last time we talked was prior to the 2025 NFL draft. That has since happened. So let's talk about what that meant for the New England Patriots. Before we get directly into the Patriots, though, let's talk about the first couple of picks before the Patriots. So obviously Cam Ward went number 1 overall. Good for him. I mean, 0-star recruit, went to JUCO. He went to Incarnate Word and then ended up in Miami. Heisman candidate, and now the number 1 overall pick to the Titans. So that's impressive. As much as I may feel that he would never be a number 1 overall pick in like any other draft, the fact that he made it this far and overcame the things that he overcame is amazing. So I'm nobody to hate on him being a number 1 overall pick, and I wish him all the greatest success. It's amazing. So shout out to Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans. See what they do. And then next we had a trade immediately off the rip. And from what, a lot of the insiders are saying, this trade was in the works based on how the number 1 overall pick was going to go. And it was a trade between the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville came down from 5 to 2. Browns went to 5. And the Jaguars selected Travis Hunter. Who wouldn't? Best player on the board, in my opinion. I'm interested to see if they're going to play him on both sides. I think they should. I think they should try it. I mean, you don't want to hinder the kid. I think he wants to play more receiver than corner, but I really think he wants to play both sides of the ball. So why not give it a try, especially in like training camp, see how his body holds up first couple of games of the season or in preseason if his body's holding up. Maybe you dial it down a little bit as the season goes to keep him healthy and if they're winning. But, hey, try him at both positions because he's elite at both. So very interesting trade. The Browns got a haul, so the Jaguars really leveraged this season on Travis Hunter, and that's a lot to ask of a receiver / corner. Normally, that's the kind of haul you get for like a quarterback that could change, but they already have Trevor Lawrence, so very interested to see what that's going to mean. And excuse me, on the other side, the Browns passed up a chance to get Travis Hunter. And they ended up drafting Mason Graham at 5, probably best available at the time. Not really a game changer for them, but understand the pick. And then one more other thing that I want to get into prior to getting into who the Patriots drafted at number 3. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to, I believe, the 5th round it was. I think it was pick 144. That's crazy. And I don't have to go into a whole soliloquy about what I think was going on, but what I will say is I think that his dad should have let him get an agent instead of his dad being the agent because, Dion knew he was going to be a top 5 pick, and he operated as such, and there was no way people were going to pass on him no matter what they thought of his attitude or whatever. And that kind of stuff didn't matter back when he got drafted anyway. They wanted football players. They didn't care about none of that other stuff. Whereas nowadays, ownerships and front offices, they care about attitude when it comes to the quarterback. And so there's a quarterback, not a corner. So he needed to present his way in a much, more humble, ready to come change the dynamic of a franchise kind of way than what Dion maybe have been advising him to do, which I can't really blame Dion, but I just would have liked to let him have an agent so this agent could say, hey, when you go into these meetings, you never know what's going to happen in the draft. So when you go into these meetings, present yourself in the best way possible. Don't be an asshole. Don't be arrogant. Study and show and prove that you're worthy of a top pick so that they can pick you instead of being arrogant and saying, I don't really care. I know I'm going to get picked high when anything could happen. And the NFL is known to make an example of people. Like, it's going to happen. So that's all I really got on Shedeur. I still think that he was QB2 in this. Mad QBs went before him that didn't deserve to, but those teams will see that they made the wrong pick. I think Shedeur is extremely accurate. I think he's pro ready. So let's see what the Browns do. That's a crowded QB room, and they took another quarterback before they took him in the draft. So very interested to see what the Browns are going to do. But the Browns are going to be the Browns. They're going to do dumb stuff. So whatever. I just hope Shedeur makes the most of his opportunity, and if the Browns aren't the place for him, then somebody else takes a flyer on him, and that he eventually is a career starter in this league, just like I think that he should be. And it's kind of crazy that I have this right here, Sports Illustrated with Travis Hunter, Dion, and Shedeur when they were at Jackson State. It's crazy that both of these kids are in the NFL now. So, I'm going to hold on to that. I wish I could have got a sign. That would have been crazy, but, shout out to them. Shout out to Travis Hunter. Shout out to Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to Deion Sanders for taking those kids from Jackson State to the NFL. But without further ado, let's get into the New England Patriots draft, right? And I'm a little bit late to the party, so I don't have to go in depth about every single pick and, kind of what it means to the team. If you watch any Patriots media source of any sort, people have broken down everything there is to break down about the draft. I'm not the biggest draft nerd or draft nut. So that's why it kind of didn't bother me to be late to analyzing the draft picks. But I got a job to do. And I have to give y'all content about the team. And the draft is a very important part of that. And I'm very excited about the draft and who we took. I'm just a little jaded from years prior of us thinking we had good drafts, and then those guys ended up being trash, terrible, bust, not on the team no more, all those things. So the draft, I try not to get too high on the draft, but I know that's how you build the team. And it looks as if Mike Vrabel and Elliott Wolf and the rest of that front office took a step in the right direction in the building the team. So let's get right into it. The number 3 overall pick was left tackle Will Campbell from LSU. I know there was a lot of controversy behind that pick, especially in the Boston media. Everybody talked about his arm length. He measured out at 32 and 5/8 at the combine, but then he ended up measuring it right at 33 at his pro day. Up in the air, which one you believe. But if you believe that he has 33-inch arms, then his arms are long enough to be a tackle in this league, even though they're on the shorter side. Now, when you see him, they stand out because they've made such a big deal about it. His arms do look short for his frame, and, his shoulders are narrow, and I feel like my shoulders are broader than his, and I'm nowhere near how his weight, but this is neither here nor there. They took him. They filled a positional need, best player available, and positional need kind of merged together for that pick. And we'll see if he can be that left tackle for the next 10 years, that Matt Light kind of, player for us. Or like a lot of other people are thinking that he's going to be, is a all pro, all world guard. I don't want an all pro, all world left guard. Personally, I would prefer a very good left tackle if I had to choose between the two. So we'll see kind of what happens. I'm choosing to be optimistic right now. I'm choosing to believe that he can be a good left tackle based on what kind of the highlights that I watched from his time at LSU, especially this past season. I didn't see anything that showed me that he can't play left tackle in the league. There was a couple of premier pass rushers that he struggled against, but pass rushers' jobs are to win. So the fact that they didn't get a bunch of wins on him shows that he's capable of playing. He had a rough day against Texas A&M, and their edge rusher went in the first round. So I'm choosing to be optimistic that he can do it, regardless of his arm length or any other things. I mean, he had his athletic profile is through the roof. So I'm sure Josh McDaniels will be able to scheme up protections, tight end, running back chips to help him out if he's showing that he has problems. But I hope that they keep him at tackle and not immediately transition him into a guard, because we just took a guy at number 4 overall and still have a huge need on the left side. So that's all I got on Will Campbell. The rest of the draft, let me just run through the names really quickly, and then start talking about, some of my favorite aspects of it. So obviously, like I said, we had Will Campbell in the first round. Then we had, I'm just going to go in order, not necessarily by round, but Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State, Kyle Williams, receiver from Washington State, Jarrett Wilson, center from Georgia, Craig Woodson, safety from Cal, Joshua Farmer, defensive tackle from Florida State, Braden Swinson, edge from LSU, Andres Baragles, I probably said his name wrong, but the kicker from Miami, Marcus Bryant, the left tackle from Missouri, who was opposite of Armand Membu, Julian Ashby, a long snapper from Vanderbilt. Yeah, long snapper, crazy, right? And Kobe Minor, a DB from Memphis. So those are our picks. So what I want to outline here is, much like last year, we went offense early in the first 3 rounds. Boom, boom, boom. Offense, 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 offense with Campbell, Henderson, Williams, and Wilson. I don't have a problem with that. I think the main difference is that last year we took, obviously Drake May worked out. Then we took Polk, who I believe was overdrafted, whereas we took Kyle Williams in the 3rd, and that's about where he should have been drafted. So positional value increased here. I felt like we got guys at the right time, as opposed to overdrafting somebody who inevitably looks like a bust right now. But it makes it even worse that we overdrafted him to begin with, as well as Travion Henderson in the 2nd. Again, driving the running back high, a lot of people frown upon, but that's about where he should have went based on his talents. So to highlight those 2 players, I think we got speed at those skill positions. And that's not something that we've had in New England for a long time. We have Demario Douglas, who is quick, but he's not like fast, like 4.4 fast. We had Tyquan Thornton, but he just outright couldn't play. So his speed meant nothing because he didn't utilize it, and the team didn't utilize it, having him run vertical and catch, bombs or give him the ball in space and let him use his speed. So I think the difference between like a Tyquan Thornton and a Kyle Williams is that Kyle Williams is like a route technician. He gets separation early in his routes, whereas Tyquan couldn't run routes. He was taking 6 steps on a 3-step slant type stuff. So Kyle Williams is going to take 3, break, and get away from the corner, catch that slant, and he can easily take it 60 yards. Just Travion Henderson. He's projected, to be kind of that 3rd down back archetype that Josh McDaniels loves in his offense. But as we saw at Ohio State, he can do it all. He can run between the tackles and get 8 yards, or he can catch a screen like he did against Texas in the playoffs and take it 80 yards to end the half, So speed, explosiveness at the skill positions is what I like the most about this draft. With just those two players alone, I think that our running back and receiver room got dramatically better. And those two guys could potentially push guys out of those rooms based on just how good they are and how well they fit in a Josh McDaniels scheme. Jared Wilson, the center from Georgia, he only played center for 1 year. He played left guard the other years. But based on what I watched, he had a high athletic profile too. So he's very athletic for a center. He's a little bit bigger than most centers are, which is why he has that left guard center versatility. I usually think that he could beat out Bradbury for that center position very early on. Depending on how he picks up the offense with Josh McDaniels, he could easily beat out Bradbury because Bradbury's a bit undersized and he just isn't that good. We just needed to fill that position. But now that we drafted Wilson, I think that the Patriots will have no issue letting Bradbury go altogether. Maybe keeping him as a backup, but you could let him go all together and let Cole Strange be the backup center. So we'll see how that goes with Wilson. Two more players I'm pretty excited about are Joshua Farmer and Braden Swinson. I feel like the positional value that we got them at is great too. Both of those guys are projected to go way earlier than they did, but they fell, and for whatever reason they fell. Doesn't matter because the Patriots scooped them up, and I think they're going to be major additions to that defensive line. I know a lot of people were clamoring for an edge rusher, and I think the one that we got, even though he wasn't the best edge rusher in his class, maybe not even, top 3, top 5, he still was great value where we got him at. So I'm interested to see how they're going to use him, if he's going to be a rotational Josh Uche type of edge rusher where he just comes in on obvious passing downs and wreaks havoc. I'm okay with that in the 5th round. That's perfectly fine with me if you get that kind of guy in the 5th round. So those are just great value picks on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know much about Craig Woodson. I do know that he primarily did play free safety as opposed to the heavy amount of strong safeties we have on the roster. So if he can come in and immediately go straight to that free safety role and do well at it, then that helped fill a positional need that a lot of people weren't really talking about. We really need a free safety to roam the field so that, our players aren't getting beat deep. We're not getting beat over the top. Because Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers, as much as I love Jabril Peppers, those dudes are box safeties, man. They're mini linebackers. They want to be up by the line of scrimmage and hit people. We need somebody that can roam and not get lost in coverage or beat deep down the field. We need a safety with a lot of range. So if Craig Woodson can come in and do that, then, hey, again, more positional value. That's the theme of this draft is value, value, value. Where we got these people we didn't overdraft anybody like we would have done a lot of times when we had Belichick, Cole Strange, for instance. There's N'Keal Harry, for instance. We're not overdrafting guys. We're finding them in these pockets where it's extremely valuable. If they work out, then hell yeah. If they don't work out, well, you got them in the 4th, 5th. You know what I mean? So I'm extremely excited about that. I think the players that are going to have the most immediate impact, I'm going to do top 5 players from this draft I think are going to have the most immediate impact. Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State. I think he's going to have the most immediate impact simply because of he's the only explosive back in that room right now. Ramondre's great, but Ramondre's great at getting you 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 5 yards here, 5 yards here, maybe 13 yards here, and inevitably getting a touchdown. Whereas Travion Henderson can break one for 60, break one for 40, 30-yard gain here, take a screen 40 yards. That's something that we've been missing in this room, something that I think we were trying to get out of Antonio Gibson, and that's not to say that he can't also do that. We just didn't really. We saw a couple of explosive runs from Gibson. Let me give him some credit. But I think just how the offense was last year, we don't know the capabilities of any of these guys. But if Gibson can't do it, then home run hit with Henderson because he can. And I think that he's going to be amazing in the Josh McDaniels offense. People are raving about his pass blocking abilities. That's awesome. Blitz pickup. If Drake doesn't see something, Henderson's right there to pick it up for him, keep him out of trouble. But the thing I'm most excited about is, man, you can just literally dump him off a little quick screen and he can take that 80 yards, man. Even more than like a James White. James White was an incredible route runner, incredible pass catching back, but he wasn't fast or explosive like Travion Henderson is. So I'm really interested to see how Josh McDaniels is going to use him. Next would be Will Campbell. Obvious reasons. He's the left tackle protecting Drake's blind side. If he can be better than Vidarian Lowe off the muscle, then that is already a dramatic increase in productivity for the offense. Because if you give Drake a little bit of time, I'm sure he can make the magic happen. He just didn't have much time last year. Kyle Williams. So the reason why I think Kyle Williams is going to make a huge early impact is just his ability to separate. I think Josh McDaniels is going to want to use him and Diggs on the field at the same time, swap them out, because Kyle Williams has that inside out versatility at the at the X or in the slot. And I think Josh McDaniels is going to have a lot of fun with that, putting Diggs and Kyle Williams on the field at the same time. And both of them are incredible separators. So Drake is going to have options, and it's going to make the defense or make the offense that much more explosive and make the defense respect big play opportunity. Because you can't just, if Diggs is healthy, you can't just ignore Diggs. Or if he's going off, you're not just going to have him one-on-one. You're going to bring safety help. And that opens up things for Kyle Williams or vice versa. And I think Kyle Williams, in a sense, is kind of like a mini Diggs in the way that he runs routes and the way that once he gets the ball after the catch, he runs hard, he runs powerful, he's looking to score. I watched his clips. I've seen him take slants to the house, seen him take little like quick screens, little Texas routes. Like they moved him around a lot and got him a lot of quick, easy touches. And I also seen him beat Travis Hunter on just an outright fade, just boom, run past him, win, touchdown. So his ability to have that inside out versatility, speed, route running ability, quickness, I think he's going to have an amazing impact early too. So it's going to be interesting. We have rookie minicamp this weekend, so I'm interested to see what's going to come out of there. If there's going to be, some crazy like catches from him, if Patriots media shows him or anything like that, I think he's going to have a pretty early impact. I haven't been high on a receiver that we drafted like this in a long time. I wasn't this high on Polk last year, but I think Kyle Williams can be leaps and bounds better than what Jalen Polk could even think about being. So, and, excited for Kyle Williams. Braden Swinson, like I said earlier, even if he's a rotational, obvious passing down edge rusher, I think that's great value getting him where you got him, and he could come in and kind of, if Harold Landry's been doing the dirty work or Keon White's been doing the dirty work, and then you bring in Swinson to just wreak havoc on a third down or second and long, obvious passing situations, I think that adds a lot of value to that defensive line. And to have somebody like that, kind of like you had with Josh Uche, is gonna be great for that defensive line. And lastly, the kicker that we drafted, and I know, right, me talking about a kicker is a little bit crazy, but Andres Borregales, I think that's how you say his name. If our kicking can be just a smidge better than what it was last year, then I think that's the difference in a lot of these games. I mean, Drake's having to try to play superhero because we missed a kick in the second that the game would have been tied had we not missed that kick or anything like that. So if we bring in a kicker who he was apparently the best kicker on everyone's board, that's why the Patriots felt like they needed to draft him instead of waiting to UDFA. If he's, who everyone projects him to be, and he can make these kicks and he can make a 50-yarder plus where you're not feeling like you got to send your offense in on fourth because your kicker can't make anything past 40 yards, then that's an immediate impact on the offense. That's putting points on the board. You're not leaving points out there on the field. You're putting points on the board. So I have him as my fifth to make an immediate impact. So again, like I said, my top five to make an immediate impact on this team is Travion Henderson, Will Campbell, Kyle Williams, Braden Swinson, and Andres Borregales. So that's really all I got on the draft. Like I said, man, everybody's, way ahead of me on post draft coverage because I kind of took so long to record this episode. But hey, things happen. And I still appreciate you guys supporting me. Let's get into some off-season workout thoughts. So at the owners meeting, Mike Vrabel said he sent out a message to the team about voluntary workouts and that they should voluntarily read it and voluntarily show up, which is basically him saying, hey man, I'm the new guy in town, and if you want to be a part of this ship, if you want to be on the boat when we take off, you're going to bring your ass to voluntary workouts. And it looks like so far they've had outstanding attendance, if not perfect attendance. And I think that is instrumental in this team moving forward, is that guys getting a head start on building this culture, building this team, figuring out what this team is all about. That's instrumental. And I am extremely surprised but happy that all these players had this much buy-in to what Vrabel was talking about, to the point Stephon Diggs is still recovering, and I'm seeing him in tons of pictures and stuff at voluntary workouts. So I know that means that he's bought in. Christian Barmore is bought in, and he's coming back from blood clots. So we don't know if he's going to play or not yet. But the fact that he's there getting the work in, learning the new defense, that means he's bought in. He's ready. I don't want to say he's necessarily risking his body for this, but he kind of is. So just to see the amount of guys that are present at the voluntary offseason workouts is good. And it helps the team really get a good head start, because if everyone's there, then you can start installing the real offense with the players that are actually going to be the starters or be there when the season starts, or when mini camp starts, training camp starts. Those players are at the voluntary workouts. So you're not, somebody that wasn't there is not trying to catch up because everybody's there. So you're organically and building the offense early on in the process. And it's extremely important with Josh McDaniels' offense, because in the past it's been extremely complicated to a lot of players to get on. It puts a lot on the quarterback as far as protections and audibles and things like that. So I know it's super important for Drake to be there. Him and Josh Dobbs both getting it in early. And just to have the guys that you're going to be throwing the ball to out there in real time when the season actually starts early and everybody's on the same page, because everybody's starting at the same time. That's going to do wonders for this team, I feel, moving forward. And I'm interested to see what it looks like come training camp, being that they had this head start. Because when you get a new coach, you get to come in a little bit earlier than the rest of the league. So the fact that they got this head start, they had this great attendance. Let's see what it looks like in training camp. I know we're not going to get real glimpses of the actual offense, but if it looks like everybody's on the same page, not a lot of balls hitting the ground, that kind of thing, then I think we're going to be off to a great start, a much better start than last year. Which brings me to my next point. I kind of hinted at it, but is Drake May learning the offense? I have no reason to think that Drake May can't learn the offense, other than the fact that, this offense has just been known to be extremely complicated to most players. But I think the complication lied with Tom Brady more than Josh McDaniels. When Josh McDaniels had Cam Newton and Mac Jones, it didn't look like this crazy complicated offense. It looked like he morphed the offense to fit his quarterback. Now, I'd be lying if I said I watched a lot of Raiders football when he was the head coach, but I didn't really hear too much about it being extremely complicated at the Raiders either. So I think that complication in the offense with Josh McDaniels more so came from Tom Brady being at the helm, and Tom Brady having such a grasp on the offense that he wanted to keep taking it up a notch, taking it up a level. And maybe some of the younger players couldn't really understand it the way that Tom could. And that's where the disconnect lied, and not so much in McDaniels' schemes that was confusing the players, but more so about what Brady wanted everybody to do, because we all know Tom Brady is an android, and the things going on in his head, we don't know what's going on up there, what he sees on the field, but he knows where everybody should be at every time and every point. If you're not there, if it's not perfect, it's going to throw him off. I think some of these newer quarterbacks don't really work like that. Drake can work off script when the play breaks down. He can still find somebody. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be in a perfect spot. He's got the arm strength to get it to you. So I don't think the offense is going to be dumbed down because everybody's still talking about how there's a lot on the quarterback, setting protections and audibles and being able to read the field and seeing what's going to happen before it happens. But it's not Tom Brady level. It should be Drake May level. And we'll see what that is when it comes. And I'm hoping that the receivers and the running backs and the line and everybody can all get it at a Drake May level so that it can be ran as efficiently as Drake May can run it and not McDaniels trying to have Drake May run it as well as Tom did. And it's two completely different quarterbacks. So we'll see. And I'm also interested to see how McDaniels' offense is going to change because he has a different style QB than a Tom Brady. It's not quite Cam Newton where he sent him on a bunch of QB runs, but it's somewhere in the middle of Brady and Cam. Throw Mac Jones out of the equation. He's accurate. He's big, strong, fast. And you merge, the good things about Brady, accuracy, arm strength, brain power, and the physicality of Cam Newton, being able to run over guys, that kind of thing. And you can make a Drake May kind of archetype. And so if that's what he truly is, and Josh McDaniels can kind of find that middle spot between how he coached Cam and how he coached Brady and Mac, I think it could be, extremely well. And also based on some of the guys that are on the staff, Thomas Brown, Ashton Grant, the quarterback coach, and Thomas Brown is the pass game coordinator. These guys are West Coast guys. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be any elements of the West Coast offense. Now, I'm not saying I want them to run outside zone because we obviously saw how bad that was, but just any kind of other elements of the West Coast offense, maybe the verbiage or things like that, because that's what those guys are used to, and that's what Drake had last year. So I'm interested to see kind of how Josh McDaniels is going to do this. I believe in Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator, but again, I hope he's not trying to run. I mean, I hope it is the Tom Brady offense because that worked for 20 years, but I hope that he can make some adjustments based on the kind of quarterback that he has now that's not Tom. And I think he can. And I think Drake should be able to pick up the offense relatively easily, not easily, but well enough to be able to execute. And I know that Josh McDaniels has the football acumen to adjust on the fly if it seems like May is not getting the offense. And if May's not getting the offense, that's a whole nother problem in itself. So those are my thoughts on the offense. Let's talk about some early cut candidates. Not going to spend a lot of time on this, but with OTAs coming up, rookie mini camp, all those kind of things, training camp, I think some of the early cut candidates that I've seen so far, Jelani Tavai, I just don't see anywhere that he fits on this offense. On this defense at all. Javon Baker, and as much as that pains me to say it, he literally had no impact on the team last year. And I don't know now that we got Kyle Williams where he fits in. He was already at the bottom of the depth chart. Where does he fit in? Whose spot can he take coming off of last year? I don't know. I don't see it right now. And Jaheim Bell. I don't think we saw enough of Jaheim Bell to really get an opinion, but that's the problem. He couldn't get on the field with Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry, and that might have just been an Alex Van Pelt thing. He might not have trusted him to go do the things that Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry were doing because they're better blocking tight ends than Jaheim Bell. But he's apparently he was like a Swiss Army knife. So not be able to use him at all, a little bit concerning. And I don't know if it was Alex Van Pelt or if it was Jaheim Bell. Now, Jaheim Bell is the type of person or the type of tight end that Josh McDaniels would love. So ideally, if Josh McDaniels can figure out how to use him, maybe at a fullback or just, explosive tight end, then I don't think he gets cut. But if Josh McDaniels can't really find a role for him in this offense, then tight end room might be a little bit crowded because on to my next point about undrafted free agents, they picked up a couple of other tight ends, one specifically from Alabama that I think could make a pretty big impact. So those are three of the cut candidates that I have. And like I said, getting into some of the undrafted free agents that the Patriots brought in, I'm not going to name all of them, but just some ones that caught my attention were, let's see, running back Lan Larison from UC Davis. He seems like a guy that could easily make this team or at least be a practice squad player. He had 284 carries for 1,465 yards and 17 touchdowns last year. And he also had 62 catches for 847 yards and 6 more scores. Now, UC Davis is not a Power 5 school or anything like that, but I think that Lan Larison is the kind of multi-purpose back that Josh McDaniels love, kind of, Travion Henderson light. And in the Brady days, we carried a lot of running backs at one time. We usually had 4 running backs on the active or on the game day roster. So there's no reason that we can't do the same this year. And I think a guy like Lan Larison can jump guys like Terrell Davis, leapfrog him on that from the practice squad and actually make the active roster. The next undrafted free agent I want to talk about is Efton Chisholm, receiver from Eastern Washington. Short, quick, white guy. Josh McDaniels slot receiver prototype. Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. You guys know. That's what Efton Chisholm is. He had 1,300 yards last year. And he just showcased, his smooth route running abilities at the East-West Shrine Bowl. That caught some attention. So I could see why the Patriots wanted to, bring him in. And then lastly, I want to talk about CJ Dupree, the tight end from Alabama. Big 6'5", 256 pounds. He had a pretty high relative athletic score in the pre-draft process. I think he's a guy that can come in and kind of carve out a role. Again, like I said, if somebody like Jaheim Bell doesn't make the cut or he's not showing anything, I think a guy like Dupree can come in and be the successor to, Austin Hooper or even Hunter Henry. As those guys get a little bit older and the team moves on from them in a couple of years. So those are really the only 2 main undrafted free agents that I wanted to really highlight. Let's get into Music Minute. I don't know why I said it like that, but nothing crazy on Music Minute. Song that I've been running back like crazy is Money on Money by Young Thug, man. To be honest, when I heard that Thug verse on Playboi Carti album, I was like, oh man, Thug is cooked. He can't talk about nothing that he used to talk about. This is corny. All his songs are going to be about girls or something. I didn't know what to expect. And boy, was I pleasantly surprised when Money on Money came out featuring Pluto. Both of them went crazy. I've been having it on repeat in the whip on my way to work. So if Thug is putting out this quality still, even with, the case that he had, I'm all in. Like I said, I had my doubts. I thought he was going to be cooked because of the case, but he did what he needed to do on Money. And then I know this might not be a popular topic or a popular person to talk about, but Kanye did put Donda 2 on streaming services. And me personally, I've had the unfinished Donda on my phone for like 2-3 years now. So I had to go listen to see kind of how the songs that were unfinished back when I was listening to the project, see what he did on the finished product. A lot of them still kind of sound the same. A couple, like you could tell he went in and redid the verses, but some of the stuff still sounds a little unfinished. But I like those songs back then. I still like them now. I know he's wilding. I don't know what he got going on with some of these other songs that he's making. He's wilding with I'm not even gonna say it. He's wilding, but Donda 2 is still cool. Yeah, that's all I got for Music Minute. Again, thank y'all for y'all patience, man. I'm back. Promise to be more consistent. I'm not as busy at work anymore. So I promise to be here for y'all. Y'all keep this going. Y'all keep me going. Shout out to y'all, man. And yeah. Thank you for tuning in to the PATS Rap Podcast, episode 10. See y'all next time.